problem number 34.
I'm going to read it right.
Problem number 34. In a certain city, the United Way offered the following guidelines for giving to its annual fund: 1% for incomes under $30,300 plus 2% of income exceeding $30,000 for incomes between $30,000 and $50,000, and C, 700 plus 3% of income exceeding $50,000 for incomes over $50,000. Graph G of I, the suggested gift corresponding to income I. So what they want us to do is to graph. As we look at the graph, we are going to be dealing with the income that we make versus the gifted amount. So our income is going to be the input or the independent value, and then the gifted amount is the dependent or the output in our graph. Oh, there's Hallie. Hallie's nice. Text me. She's not going to be here. She's working another shift for Natalie because she's sick. All right, this actually ends up being what is known as a piecewise function because we have different things going on in three different section amounts. This is the way taxes actually work. When you talk about taxes, you can be in a different tax bracket. It tiers itself, and you may be paying more in the higher tax bracket. You might be paying less, depending on what taxes, what you're working with, something along those lines. So here we're actually just talking about the gifted amount. It's a piecewise function, three parts. The first part, hopefully this is not too thick of a pen. The first part, we have a certain domain. What is the domain? It's the actual income they're looking at. We are talking about the domain is your input or the X value, so we're looking for income. What is the first domain you talk about? 0 to 30,000. So a piecewise function, we're going to be talking about three equations here. And we want to know what is the gifted income. And the first piecewise function has a domain of 0 to, it includes 30,000, correct? Yep. For anything, 1% for incomes under 30,000, but if you look at the next one, it's for those that exceed $30,000. So how do we calculate, if I make anywhere between 0 and $30,000, how do I even calculate how much I'm going to gift to United Way? What if I made 10%, or 10%, darn. What if I made $10,000? It would be 1% of that. How do you find 1% of that? Divide by, it's 1 divided by 100 is 1%, or it's the same thing as 0.01. So 10% is the same thing as 0.01 times whatever my income happens to be. So 0.01 times I. If your income, I should change this X over here and state it as an I, because that's my income. When my income is between 0 and $30,000. So let's just come up with some income here. Here's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. I could go out there to 70 if I wanted to. Well, let's just start to graph this. I could turn around, I could come up with all the equations and then graph it, but let's just calculate it now. So if my income is 0, Am I going to donate anything?
No.
No. So that's $0. Okay, I'm all right with that point. This is a linear function, right? Its y-intercept is 0 and it has a slope of 0.01. Well, that's a little hard to see a slope of 0.01 here. So let's just find another point on the graph, connect them, and it's a linear equation, so I should have my line. If I made $30,000, how much money would I get if I made $30,000? $300. Let's just let each one of these be $300. I'm just going to mark every third increment just to save room. Okay, so yeah. $18. Just mark that for right now. So at third income, I better change this in thousands of dollars. My income in thousands of dollars. So at 30, I'm going to make $300. That's not going to work very good. I'll go to my straight line. There you go. There's our first graph. That's the first part. The next part, part B, says it's $300 plus 2% of income exceeding $30,000 for incomes between $30,000 and $50,000. So the second part, what is your second domain? The domain is 30,000. Does it include 30,000? No. To what? 50,000. It does include 50,000. But my question is, how do I come up with the equation for that? 300 plus 0.02, or 2% of your income. Now think about this. We said it doesn't include 30,000. It's not I. Income minus 30,000, because it says for all income that exceeds 30,000. So I have to take 2% times my income that exceeds $30,000, which is going to be shown as, I just need more room here. Which is going to be shown as your income minus 30,000, and that's for incomes between 30,000 and 50,000. Now I said something about, does it include 30,000? What happens if you put 30,000 into that equation? 30,000 minus 30,000 is 0, and 0 times 2% is 0, and what do you get? 300. Is that the same thing you get if you go up to the top part? Yes. So this 300 that is right here is actually what you get when you calculate the top one for that maximum amount of 30,000. So could I say it includes that 30,000? Yeah. You're going to get the same answer no matter which equation you use for that 30,000. So I know if my income was 30,000, I would get that $300. What if it's 50,000? You're going to put 50,000 into your calculator, so you're going to get $30 or $300 plus 2% of 50,000 minus the 30,000 that I already paid taxes on, because that not taxes, sorry, that I already gifted, this 30,000 amount right there that I'm subtracting is already right there. So I'm still paying, I'm just paying 1% on that. Here's what you're doing. You have $50,000. So on $30,000, you are going to pay 1%. And on the remaining $20,000, you're going to pay 2%. And then I'm going to add those together and figure out how much I have to pay. That's what this equation right here in green is doing for you. It's just that they've already calculated this amount as the $300 up here. So now I need to figure out what's this amount that's left. And when I add it, how much am I going to pay? So you calculate that, and what do you get? 700. So now I'm going to be, if I make $50,000, now I'm going to be paying 700. Oh, great. Now I got to find 700 here. So 50, does that look about right? It's a third of the way up. It's about a third of the way up there. I need to put that. So 300, 600, and a third of the way up, about right there. Something like that. Piecewise function. That's changing a little bit. Why is it changing? Because it's a different percentage that you are taking. You are gifting more for the more you make. So the last part. Question up to that point. The last part says what? 700 plus the 3% of the income that exceeds $50,000. How am I going to write that equation?
Times income minus 50,000.
Very good. Lost my zeros there for a second. Where's that 700 coming from?
The previous
The previous amount. Guess what? It was already right there, right? We'd already had that in our graph. That means that on that first $50,000, on that first $50,000, I'm paying, or I am gifting $700. And this is for income, which is greater than $50,000. Let's see how steep that's going to go. 60. Should we go out to 70? Give me a little bit of space there to determine how steep that is. What if we go out to 70? Now let's calculate it. So if it were 70,000, it's going to be $700, which is what I've already paid on the first 50,000, plus 3% of the remaining. If it was 70,000, I'm going to have $20,000 left that I need to pay 3% on. So it's 700, the first 50,000, and 3% of anything beyond that, which is $20,000. And when you calculate that, what did you get? 700. The 70,000 is just because I said that's what's going to be my end spot here on my graph, because that's all the farther my graph goes out. 1,300. So at 70, I am going to give 1,300, which is about a third of the way up from right here. Is that a steeper slope yet? Uh-huh. Okay, I'm going to try to draw a straight line. There we go. So can you see your pieces and how the slopes are changing? The slope for the first one is 100th. The slope for the second one is 200ths. And the slope for the third one is 300ths. Not much of a change, because 100th written as a fraction is 1 over 100. So I would go up 1 and over 100. Pretty small slope. The next one I would go up 2 and over 100. Same thing as 1/5. The next one I would, thousandths, sorry. Up 1 and over 1,000, tens, hundreds, hundreds. I was right the first time. You go up 1 over 100. The next one you go up 2 over 100, or up 1 over 50. And the next one you go up 3 over 100. definitely a change in your slopes, but they're gradual. Piecewise function. But we have our graph.